5 of you have taken the test. You 3, plus Terry and Hillary. I'm not gonna give it back because I've still got Jonathan and Morgan and Savannah. Savannah was supposed to take it yesterday, she put it off. So whether they take it or not, I'll give you the test back Tuesday for those of you that took it. How'd you feel about the test, Cole?
I'm pretty good about
Clayton?
it.
Say him on it. I told you what problems, would be on it and pretty much stuck to that. Give you more choice next time. But, anyway, taxes went well last night, guys. Y'all were fast. How much you do, Cole? 8? Whoa. And Clayton?
I think I did 5.
Jonathan mentioned, he said, well.
No, I did 6.
He said, first, when I mentioned, well, this is tax price thing, we won't stay with it much. First thing, Don said, I got 45 plus 5 for price, that's 50. That'd be hard to get. Now, he knows it's not hard to get. Okay? And like I say, if you do over 50, then you're adding on to your final grade. If you do 10, that's a letter grade. 10 over is 10 points on your final grade, not on a test grade. So you can pull a D up on tax test tonight. Okay. So, as I told you all before, it is a good program. And most of those little people appreciate it. We only had one lady one night that didn't appreciate it. I'm still mad at her. She tried to rock our world or something. Okay, now we have covered chapters 1 and chapter 2 and chapter 3. We've had a test on chapters 1 and 2 and 3, and I left out 1, of course. Now here is your test 2 information. Test 2 is going to be on chapter 5, chapter 6, and chapter 7. All right. Now that is costing systems. Chapter 2 is job order. Chapter 3 is process. And chapter 7 is standard costing. Now, I'd like to get back and do chapter 4 on activity-based management and costing, but I'll save that for last. So we're going to chapter 5 today, page 149. You probably can follow along with me on PowerPoints. All right. Now, Monique, you had Mandrill, right? Now, chapter 5 is what? Job order or job process? Job order. Now, what is there out there that you want made today that you have to put in a special job order for it? They're only going to build one of these, and it's for you. What can you go out there and get, and it's got to be done for you, made for you, built for you, done for you. If you had an architect draw up a house plan, that's job order. Now, the car industry, they may have a few job orders for police cars and driver's ed. Don't you have to put 2 brakes in a driver's ed car? Do they put 2 steering wheels? 2 brakes? And the Army sometimes does job order for certain military vehicles. All right, airplanes, they're job order. Yachts are job order. If Monique wanted a handmade wedding gown, it'd be job order. And if Clayton wanted a handmade tux or tailor-made suit of any kind, it'd be job order. If you just want plain old business cards, to see this fella in West Virginia, gave me one yesterday. Office of the State Auditors in West Virginia, Jeff Wainwright. This is job order. But now we know with computers, any of you can make business cards from a computer, can't you? You don't have to buy these anymore. The college make me a bunch, I've got on my desk. Now, I want to tell you about this fella. One was John D. was custody state auditor. That's Jeff Wabright, senior deputy state auditor, chief of staff. Now, the state of West Virginia has legislative auditors. Those auditors would audit the colleges and universities, state institutions. All right, they have state tax auditors and sales tax auditors. But these guys were state auditors. They audit every county in West Virginia, municipal, governmental accounting audit. They've got some forensic auditors. Now also, they audit towns, counties, cities. Now they're going to start auditing the fire departments. The state of West Virginia gives about 50 million a year to fire departments. These fire departments, they go out there and have dances and they have raffles and they raise a lot of other money. And they have not one has ever been audited in the state of West Virginia. Now you know, if you work for the fire department, Clayton, you're never going to be audited. Everybody's handing all this little raffle money into you, maybe $10,000. You probably could slide a couple thousand in your own billfold, and nobody could prove you did or didn't. Now, why am I telling you this? There's a lot of jobs in auditing. Now, auditing is next year for some of you. Are you taking this money? The auditing is next year. It's a junior no later than a senior. You need the auditing course, number one. Now, what the state of West Virginia is doing, they're going to hire maybe 3 or 5 students as interns. They are short 45 state auditors. They've been to West Virginia University, Marshall, and everywhere trying to recruit. Now, what they're offering this summer, which you all don't qualify until you've had audited, they'll offer an internship in Charleston. They will furnish you a room. Maybe a room like a college. They'll pay you $15 an hour for that internship. That's $600 a week. Now you could live on $2,400 a month. 3 months. 2,400, 2,400. Now, after you finish that internship, if you've already graduated, or if you've got a year to graduate, they will hire you full time as a state auditor. They start out at about $42,000 a year, which is not bad. 6 months, they give you a $2,000 raise. $44,000 is not bad in the accounting world. Now, the next best thing about that job, how many counties can you name, like in that area? What county you live in? You live in Mercer. That's right here, isn't it? What county borders Mercer? McDowell, how about Monroe? Anyway, there's a lot of counties. Now, how many counties do you think you could drive to in a couple hours, Clayton?
2, 3 maybe.
Yeah, at least 3. So they're also saying you can stay home. You don't have to move from Bluefield. You don't have to move from Mercer County. You could be a state auditor, and you could audit Mercer County and Monroe and McDowell and surrounding counties, and never have to move to Charleston. So it's a good deal. Keep that in mind when you take governmental accounting and auditing. Now they do some forensic accounting also. Okay. Now that's job order. Now, an auditor, if they audit the city of Bluefield, that's job order. And that's why we need to go back and look at chapter 4 sometime. Okay. Now let me see if I can pull up. There's cost accounting solutions. Anybody see PowerPoint cost accounting? We're way down here. Yeah, right here. I just put PP. It's whatever I put in there that it recognizes. So we're going to look a little bit at job order. Now, process cost accounting, which is the next chapter. All right, other things are made in the process. This stuff that goes through a process. Your books go through a process. Computers go through a process. And tables, TV screens, monitors, your calculators, your pencils, your clothes, they just go through a process. They're not job order. So, job order, we're ordering a special car, an airplane, a yacht, building a house, job order. Okay? Someday there may be a dorm here. Not while you're in college. Maybe not while your children in college, but there someday may be a dorm. Okay. All right. Let's look at a couple of PowerPoint items. And small quantities, batches, identifiable, user specified services, tracks cost by the job. And over here, you track the process, cost by the batch. What does homogeneously mean? What does that word mean? Simple. Means simple. Not much differentiation if I can get that word out. All right, so two kinds. We look at them, chapter 5, chapter 6. Now here are a few items. A job could be a client or a customer engagement, which would be an audit engagement, a project. If you want to build 2 miles of 4-lane between Bluefield and Tazewell, that's a project, that's a job. A product, a suit would be a product, a yacht would be a product, contract, that goes along with engagement probably. Job order. Product costing, we can identify it, measure it, sign it. Cost accumulation system or valuation method. We probably look most at cost accumulation system. We look at the actual, or it's a normal standard process to do the same. Actual direct materials, actual direct labor, actual overhead. Right there, what we'll do for a job. We might compare that, we might use a predetermined overhead rate. Standards, we'll look at that in chapter 7. The actual is what we've been doing. The actual is what you've been learning. Normal is pretty much the same thing, except you use a predetermined overhead. Standard, you'll learn that when we get to chapter 7. Each job is a cost object, they're accumulated. You know, if you're getting funny, well, I can write on these transferences. If you wanted to build a home and you got a plan, a building plan, or you got an architect draw it, you can go to Lowe's and they'll give you a price on the materials. Now, a good contractor, say you're going to build a pretty big house. That's not counting land. Now, your labor, your contractor might figure sometimes 100% of materials, but let's say he'll build your house for 50. Now, he's going to have a predetermined overhead rate for his electricity and payroll taxes. But he can give you maybe an overhead item here. So he's going to build your house for 130,000. However, he may want to add on a profit. No contractor is going to build your house for just the materials and the labor and the overhead. He wants a profit. So if he wants a $20,000 profit, you're going to have 150,000 at a house without the land and the sewer system and all that. But that's job order. That's actual costing. He may use a predetermined overhead rate here. But now when you got a job, you got to keep up with these jobs. And we know what subsidiary ledgers are, like accounts payable and accounts receivable, name of suppliers or the name of customer. All right. So this is a work in process subsidiary ledger for job 1, 2, and 3. All right. This was probably materials. You put in job 1, job 2, and job 3. You got a control account over here, work in process. All right. All three of these added together, 1 plus 2 plus 5 is equal to 8. Just like your subsidiary ledger and principal. What you owe your suppliers is what you have in accounts payable. What your customers owe you is what you have in accounts receivable. Accounts receivable and accounts payable were the control accounts. Monique, what are some of the technology advances you've seen in your lifetime? As computers came about in your lifetime, all right, especially personal computers, there might have been big computers. You had to buy a timeshare or something. Anything else?
No.
How long has cell phone been around?
They used to have a big one.
I've been with Verizon ever since I've had a cell phone. I don't know what that is. And I don't know if I got a cell phone like the business or everybody else had them for a couple of years. I don't know. But cell phones have came about. Computers, they came a long way. Personal computers, mini computers, and your cell phone actually a computer. We do a lot of stuff. We've seen, you know, now, in my time, I didn't see electricity until I was in second grade. I remember our company was running lines up the hall to give us electricity. My older brother and sister had to study by candlelight. I saw electricity. Now, automobiles have came a long way. You used to just go out and get your plain Jane straight shift automobile. You had to roll up the windows. You didn't have power brakes. You didn't have power steering. You didn't have automatic. You didn't have navigation systems on them. You didn't have lane changer warning. You didn't have backup camera. You didn't have anything on it. Okay? For air conditioning, you just had to roll down the windows and drive fast. All right? So the gadgets and automobiles have came a long way. Computer processing has come a long way. The technology makes us work smarter and not harder. Now, if we didn't have technology for taxes, how long would it take you all to do some of those handwritten returns? Take a heck of a while. Whereas the tax program gives you all those schedules and fills them in. You take in general information, you can get in R's, 1099 R's, and you can get in any other type of document and W-2s. Computer will do it for you. Okay? And any business of any size can afford a computer. It really knocks down the time for paper. It takes stress off of the payroll account. It takes stress off the tax preparer. We had another lady last night, she wanted to prepare, go online and try to do her own taxes or get somebody else to check it before we e-file. I don't think she'll find it any different. All right. Now, accounting software includes job costs and logs, and share information is an intranet. An intranet is a restricted network for sharing information, deliver data from corporate databases to local work areas. So some of them have, you know, if you had a big corporate office and you had marketing and production and you had accounting, you know, you may be on different floors, but you can still network and communicate with one another on that computer, can't you? Send and share documents within the company, not outside. Okay, so they call that intranet. Now, before cell phones, I'll tell you all before, we didn't have a home phone, so I had to walk a mile or ride my bicycle for a mile, call my girlfriend. So I had a car to drive. Then we finally got a telephone. That mom didn't have a telephone, but my sister did, so I'd walk to her house and use her phone to call my girlfriend. That's not good because you couldn't have a private conversation. All right. You used to have telephone booths on the corner at the Pacific Market, on the interstate highway. You don't have telephone booths anymore either, do you? You might find one, but if they're few and far between, even at rest stops, they've taken them out. Technology changed that. All right. So what will you see in your lifetime? If you live to be 90, you've got about 70 years to go. What will you see in 70 years? So my first TV was black and white, and we went up to color. They were way more expensive. They went down in cost. Calculators when I was in high school were $100. You can get the same calculator now for $9.99. With improvements in electronics and mass production, it get cheaper. TVs got cheaper, calculators got cheaper. So a job cost sheet simply has 3 items on it. It has to have materials and the amount. It has to have labor and the amount. And it has to have overhead and the amount. That gives you total cost. So we know materials, labor, and overhead cost. And that's what somebody building you a house has to figure out, materials, labor, overhead. So whether that contractor knows it or not, he's applying cost accounting concepts. I remember the coke ovens when I was teaching cost accounting for a community college. I remember they were using cost accounting concepts to make coke. Coke that goes into steel. They take coke, I don't know what they do to it, but turns it into coke and they ship it out to steel factories. So steel factories takes the coke and the oil and make steel. All right. Materials requisition form. If you're the foreman in a factory, you want to requisition materials from the warehouse. It tracks who's responsible. And you got to have control over these materials. Even in a factory, people will carry out parts. And they'll steal bolts and nuts or whatever. They may steal a whole product. But we debit work in process. We've done that before. And we credit materials. If we got indirect materials, we debit overhead and we still credit materials. You made that entry on the last test. That's just a materials requisition form. Then you got a timesheet. And you make the journal entry, work in process for direct, work in manufacturing overhead for indirect, and credit salaries and wages payable. And all right, Monique, do you work part-time? What do you work? Do y'all have a clock or a timesheet? What do you have? Now, when you go to work, you have to go to the computer to clock in. All right. So a lot of people are using computers. Time sheets, time clocks, and a lot of those time clocks are military time. Oh, do you know what time it is right now? Military time.
It'd still be 11:32.
It was?
It'd still be 11:32.
It would be 2,300 hours.
That's at night.
What?
2,300 at night.
That'd be at night, wouldn't it? You're right. It would still be 1,100 and a half hours. 1,100. You're right. So 11 o'clock tonight would be 2,300, wouldn't it? Okay. But whatever you use, pennies is small enough. They know whether Monique's there or not. But if they were real large, Monique could have somebody else. Could you have somebody else to log in on the computer for you? But she wants to be 2 hours late, but she don't want to miss any payday. That's possible. I'm saying you got to have control. Here's a timesheet from one employee. Now, we studied this a little bit in chapter 3. Actual overhead debit, credit accumulated depreciation, credit, taxes payable, credit accumulated depreciation, credit, utilities payable, whatever. And when we apply, so if you've got 5,000 actual overhead and we applied 5,200, we are 200 over applied. But your generic entry here for this applied, you would debit work in process 5,200 and you would credit factory overhead 5,200. And I posted before I made the entries. Now, completing the job, we move on. We know we debit finished goods, and we know we credit work in process. Now, we could have a debit to finished goods, job 101, 102, 103. We could be following 4 or 5 jobs here with these same entries. We could have actual factory overhead for job 1, job 2, job 3. Actual materials, actual labor for different jobs. When we sell it, we know we made 2 journal entries. We debit accounts receivable, credit sale. And we know we got a debit cost of goods sold and credit finished goods. And remember, this is a perpetual inventory system. Perpetual. About all we've had in any of our books and courses. Back in principles, we did look at periodic briefly. Here, we know our cost of goods sold. When we look at the ledger, all right, but before we had to take, for merchandising business, we'd take beginning inventory plus purchase, gives us merchandise available for sale, minus ending inventory, gave us cost of goods sold. We don't have to do that with a factory. We know we have to do a manufacturing statement. All right, see, here we got finished goods, job 1, cost of goods sold might be job 2. We apply overhead, we may apply to jobs 1 and 2. And we should be debiting these goods here and crediting job one. If we sell it, we debit cost of goods sold and credit finished goods inventory. All right, we estimate future costs. We establish realistic bids. Now, when this dorm up here is built, we'll take bids. And the lowest bid may not always be the best. You know, I would probably take the second to the lowest bid if they had a better reputation. The lowest bid may get the bid, but they may not be consistent. They may work on it a little bit here, a little bit there. So you got to know the firm and not always take the lowest bid. Budget and standards. Compare actual cost to estimated. Performance evaluation, which we'll look at. All right. How can you lose inventory by evaporation? What evaporates? Water? Gasoline. You can lose a lot of gasoline by evaporation. But now leakage, you also can use gasoline, oil, water, everything by leakage, can't you? What does oxidation mean? Rust. Steel pipes can rust away. Steel of any kind can rust away. Used to have pure old steel car frames. Some of them rusted too. All right, defects, we got to decide what we're going to do. On defects, do we repair them and sell them as refurbished? Do we sell them at a factory outlet? Be careful about buying paints at a factory outlet. Might not have a zipper on it. Okay. But seconds, spoilage can't be reworked. That's just if you're on a assembly line, you mess up some material. Even in a sewing factory, you messed up 5 or 10 shirts. They can't be fixed. They can't be sewed. They're spoiled. We're not talking about bananas rotten. When I say spoilage, it's not bananas and produce rotten in a grocery store. It's messing them up before they're made. Now, we may have some anticipated normal loss, and we may apply it to a specific job. We'll take job 101, and job 101 cost $1,000, and the spoilage, shrinkage, whatever, was $100. We'd take it out, and we'd have $900 for job 101. Now over here, if it's abnormal, you want to either put it as a period cost abnormal loss and disposable value. Now you might want to prorate it over all the jobs you had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll look at this in more detail later. Actual cost and normal cost is all we're worried about. What little bit we've had, what's different about job order and process. Now, even if it's job order, job 102, 3, 4, 5, it may go through the department. Process goes through the department. You go out and buy a loaf of bread today. That probably started out in the mixing department. Then you threw it in the oven. So we had the baking department. You got it out of the oven and sliced it. You had the cutting department. Or even making a loaf of bread, you got departments. All right. And you don't job order a loaf of bread. Go down the store and buy it, don't you? Anything you just go down the store and buy is probably processed. It's not job order. We've always got ethical issues. So if you were in a factory, you could cheat. Who do you cheat for? These issues here, if you own the company, you might want to inflate costs, so you can inflate sales price. Substitute materials of inferior quality. So you want a house built, contractor told you he would put 2 by-6s in the frame, but you're not there, so he put in 2 by-4s. He's already got those 2 by-4s covered up before you see it. You don't want to turn the wall out to check it, do you? So that would be bad on the contractor's part to save money, inferior quality. A lot of companies do this inferior quality. Using methods that's not consistent with FIFO and LIFO and so on. Record the sales value of defective work. Makes your revenue look good. You're not going to sell defective work at its normal price, are you? Well, have you ever bought anything refurbished? A computer or a phone or anything?
Yeah.
I think I have too. I think house phones, refurbished TVs, what have you. They may last as long as any of them. You're taking a gamble. You may not get a full warranty on them. All right, so we will be talking about repairing defective products, or not repairing, or scrapping them. All right, folks, that looks like we've summed up the chapter. All right, so your next thing is to read this chapter, chapter 5, and read it well. And we're going to work a couple of exercises today. And we may get to the appendix on this chapter and look at standard cost. We may not get to the appendix. We'll wait for the chapter on the cost. I want to do something real easy today. I want you to look at exercise page 171. Now this is real easy. Exercise 1, A, B, C, down to Q. Take a minute, look over those, and see if they were job order or process. Take a minute.
That's what I thought. I saw one at the top, so I saw.
So now Virginia, are we able to e-file the Virginia? Okay, now they take the e-file into the system? Yeah. And they'll let us know when.
One of the workers here.
Oh, okay. The resubmitted, okay.
See before you do the tax class.
Okay. We'll look at it, okay. All right, cool. How about legal services, job order or process? All right, you hire an attorney for divorce. Is that a job order or process? It's a job. Clayton, how about is a healthcare clinic? You can do that by job order because you're the patient. They give you the blood test. They give you the x-rays. Manufacturer's shampoo. How about that one, Monique? Has to be done. Now I might can show these on the screen here and zoom them in a little bit. For those out there viewing the textbooks, so Mr. Lilly wants one of my gizmos. That's what he was doing in here early. He wants him a gizmo so he can show legal documents. And so forth. But anyway, I've got all kinds of marks on here. Makes custom jewelry. How about that one? Custom jewelry is, it probably could go either way. If I wanted a certain ring made, got it made, it'd be job order. But if you just see at a yard sale or a flea market, that's a lot of custom jewelry, and it's probably processed. An automobile repair shop, Monique? Yeah, because your transmission is not like somebody else's motor job, a brake job. And Clayton, how about provides landscaping services for corporations?
Job order.
All right, yeah, you go out and look at the lay of the land, don't you? And how much you gotta decorate, so on, and how much they want decorated. A lot of people, one decoration I hate on landscaping is they line the whole driveway, either with little solar lights or for little trees. It's not a bad thing. Some girl driveway may be outlined, but I don't like that. I don't like a driveway to be outlined with shrubbery, trees, anything else. All right. Now, if you live back on a ranch or a big farm, you got a long driveway and you got trees on each side, I guess that's okay. All right. Anybody, luxury yachts, definitely job order.
Process.
Paint, yeah, just go out and buy your gallon of paint, produce college textbooks,
Process.
process. Now, there has been job order in the book market. A book company one time sent me to Baltimore, and it was a accounting principles book, and they just made me a book according to what chapters I wanted. I could delete the chapters that were not covered, and they'd make me a book for the chapters I wanted to cover. And that was a similar job order. Handles, definitely. Property management service for real estate,
Job order.
probably job order, because if you got 10 cottages, somebody else has 2 cottages, you know it's different. It's not a job. Baby food, processed, canned vegetables, chicken noodle, all right? A wedding cake, you order a wedding cake.
Probably process.
What?
Process. I mean,
What?
job order. That's
Job order.
it
Yeah,
could
you
be
want,
process.
you want it so big, you want such a flavor, you want such a icing, whatever, you want such a different top on it,
It's cheap.
all right? Custom software.
Customs.
Bluefield State wants somebody to come in and give us, customize our system. How about a film production company? Don't you think each movie is a job? Manufactures a mattress for, a mattress for swimming pool use? Okay. One of those little plastic floats. What would that be? Process. Now, you got down the concept of process versus job order. Okay, that's good. That's one thing we may have accomplished today. All right. Okay, now for homework, I don't want to give you too many of these exercises, but I want you to work exercise 14 now. All right. For homework, I want you to do number 15 for Tuesday, number 16, number 17, and number 20. All right, there's 4 or 5 for homework, but right now, let's look at a few journal entries. For problem 14. Now, we had a test on these the other day. So raw materials is purchased on account. Anybody? What do we debit when we buy raw materials? Raw materials, and we credit. I will make fast work out of this one. Direct materials issued to this job. Indirect materials issued to this job. Direct materials costing was issued to start production of another job. So we got job 4263 and 4264. Let's just worry about job 4263. We debit what for direct materials? 163. We debit work in process. Now, what do we debit for the 12,400? Factory overhead. Indirect materials is factory overhead, and then credit materials for the total. We can do the same thing for the next job or combine it. All right, now 3, direct labor. Let's start with the 3,600. And we're paid $15 an hour, and that's all we know. All right. Just do the first job. What do we debit for labor hours worked on job 63? Multiply 3,600 times $15 an hour. All right, now multiply $15 an hour times 120 hours. All right, you debit work in process at job 63 for 54. You debit work in process at job 64 for 1,800. What do you credit? It's labor. What do you credit? Something payable. It's what? Salaries and wages payable. All right. Actual factory overhead incurred were 68.7. The overhead consisted of, all right, you debit factory overhead for 1,800. You credit salaries payable. You debit factory overhead for 21.5. You credit accumulated depreciation. You debit factory overhead for 7,200. You probably would credit prepaid insurance. You debit factory overhead for 12.5, and you credit salaries payable. And you debit factory overhead 9,500, and you credit utilities payable. That takes care of your actual factory overhead. Now, it was applied to production at the rate of $18 per direct labor hour. So multiply $18 times 3,600 hours. All right, and then times 120 hours. All right, you debit work in process job 63, work in process job 64. I know, put the other numbers on it. And you credit factory overhead for those two amounts combined. Now that's all there is to journal entries for cost accounting. We have them on the test, we'll have probably on the next test, you'll get them before the end of the semester. So you're dismissed for today.